My name is Tony McFarland. I'm from Jamaica. I came to the synagogue 53 years ago. I'd always been told in Jamaica that my grandmother was a Jewess. It was more complicated than that. But the fact is that in Jamaica, Portuguese Jews settled in Jamaica from the end of the 15th century. We have records going back 1692 in the great earthquake of Port Royal. There's a first-person account of someone saying, I walked into the Jew street and I saw their synagogue fall down. After that, they moved from Port Royal, they went to Kingston and to Spanish Town. And there were a lot of Jews in Spanish Town, that's where my family is from. The only person who has written a book about the Jews of Jamaica, a Jewish Jamaican, is my father's first cousin. And my great-grandfather's name was named David Pereira Mendes. And his first cousin was a very famous Jamaican artist by the name of Isaac Mendes Belisari. So we have a lot of history in Jamaica. In the 18th century, Jamaica had the largest Jewish community in the English-speaking New World. If you ever go to Jamaica, we've got a shoe. We don't get a rabbi after 39 years without one. So it's an interesting story.
Ever since I did that video on the 21 families who control wealth and power in Jamaica, there have been quite a few people who have sought to educate me on the role of the Jewish community in Jamaican history, namely to point out that they had no role to play in slavery and colonialism in Jamaica. This is just another long-standing tradition that we have in Jamaica to whitewash our own history. Because in fact, the first Jews landed in Jamaica in 1530. They were of Spanish and Portuguese ancestry. And in fact, they were initially rejected. They were not readily accepted into white society. But less than 100 years later, they were granted permission to stay on the island. And in fact, more Jews joined them, some from Amsterdam and other places in Europe, joined those who had settled on the island. By the 1600s, they were able to start building synagogues and establish their own communities in Spanish Town, which was at that time known as St. Diego de la Vega. Jamaican Jews have recorded the most rapid and unbroken economic and political advancement of any minority ethnic group in Jamaica's history. This is a fact that has been well documented throughout Jamaica's history, so much so that a quote from the 1970s reads, "All the major members of the corporate elite can trace their emergence from their relationships to such enterprises and or direct links with the sugar plantation." Now, Jamaican Jews were mainly part of the merchant class, and by law they were limited to owning only 2 slaves, but a few of them had plantations. So it is incorrect to say that they were not a part of the movement of slavery and colonialism, because there were a few of them that owned plantations, and those were exempted from the 2-slave limit. Now, although Jamaica's Jewish community were not major players in the slave plantation industry, they were strategically aligned in order to benefit from colonialism. Unlike Jamaica's majority black population, they were unimpeded in their quest to acquire wealth. And by 1692, the Lopez family had become one of the largest landowners, acquiring 500 acres at that time. And at the turn of the 18th century, Abraham Henriquez had acquired up to 3,000 acres of land. Even after independence, Jews numbered among Jamaica's largest landowners, as seen in this 1967 excerpt from the Caribbean Quarterly publication. Even by the Gleaner's account, there were Jewish communities established in Jamaica in the 1700s and 1800s. And in one old cemetery in Spanish Town, you can find the gravestones of the Melhedos, the Nunes, the De Souzas, the De Paz, and the other Jewish families that are still in Jamaica today. Now, in the 1700s, Jamaican Jews were still considered second-class citizens and they were heavily taxed by the colonial government. But they successfully lobbied to change this. And by the mid-1700s, the tax burden was reduced and they were able to take a greater role in the society. One example of this is in 1830 when Moses Delgado presented a bill to the Colonial Assembly advocating for full enfranchisement and citizenship rights for Jews in Jamaica. And this was granted here before England did so. By 1849, a mere 15 years after emancipation, they had become a significant player in the local political directorate. They accounted for 8 of 47 members of the assembly at that time. So again, this unity and this one love and out of many one people that we are seeking first has to start with us telling the true history. The only way that we're going to move forward as a nation is if we have a reconciliation and truth-telling about what really happened and the role that each community played in our nation's.
Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing fine now. Before watching this video, you will think I'm going crazy or nuts because you do not know that the real Israelites are the Caribbeans and the black people, our ancestors, sold to US and European nations. So let's watch this video, then have a quick discussion at the end of it. Thank you so much.
Beit Israel is a community originally from the United States with roots in the Black Hebrew Israelites movement. Now based in Israel, the religious group believes Tel Arad to be the true Jerusalem.
These are the people of the book. That's right.
The Israeli government, however, does not recognize Tel Arad as a holy site.
Israel have a law, you see, that indicates that if you have a holy place within the land of Israel, that you should be able to visit there freely, you see, without having to pay entry for it. So because of that, we want what everybody else, what every other community have in Israel. We want our people that's coming from America, our people that live here in Israel, we want to be able to enter into the holy place.
Leader of Beit Israel, Hoshua Amariel, is citing an Israeli law enacted 52 years ago. The law says holy places will be protected from any desecration, with freedom of access to those who hold them as sacred. Tel Arad is currently under Israel's Park Authority, where it is being treated as a national park and campsite. Beit Israel's activities are slowly being banned from the site, and its members must pay a fee to enter for prayers.
I fear God more than I fear men. You understand? So we do go ahead and do what we're required to do, but we have a backlash afterwards saying that we broke the rules of the place.
Several years ago, Beit Israel began working with Israeli lawyer Daniel Taib.
That's the handshake for the revolution, the Torah revolution.
Together, they are working on bringing the case before the Israeli government to have Tel Arad officially recognized as a holy place.
Over the past year, the situation started escalating. Before last year, Chief Hoshua and his community could go there for their ceremonies and sacrifices. Everything was authorized, no one hurt anyone. Now they are being given difficulties to practice their rituals, so we are stepping up our legal actions to help.
Currently, the group holds most of their rituals outside the boundaries of the park's authority. And abiding by Israeli law is beginning to dishearten many members of the community.
The scriptures say that the city of David is the same as Zion, or that Mount Zion is the city of David. If the scriptures literally say that, then how can you have a sign that points Mount Zion this way and then the city of David that way? It just doesn't make sense. We know that that's Mount Zion, and we would like to come there and pray and serve the Most High as we're commanded. That's all.
It hurts. It hurt really bad. It's something that I think about every day. I cry about it. I pray about it. I just, every day, I'm dealing with it every day, everywhere I go in this country. It's really hard because that's who we are. That's who we are as a people.
Israel's Parks Authority declined I-24 News' request to be interviewed on Beit Israel in Tel Arad. It remains to be seen.
The latest group of Bnei Menashe, or children of Menashe, arrived in Israel earlier this month. They trace their ancestry back to one of the 10 lost tribes of Israel, the tribe of Menashe. At the airport, Israel's immigration absorption minister, herself an immigrant from Ethiopia, welcomed them.
We'll continue working to unite all the families and to make them feel at home here. There are always challenges, but we'll do whatever we can to help and integrate you the same way we were integrated.
The Bnei Menashe were brought to Israel by Shavei Israel, a non-profit organization dedicated to finding lost tribes and bringing them as immigrants to Israel.
Throughout their sojourn in exile, the Bnei Menashe continued to practice a biblical form of Judaism. They kept the Sabbath, they kept kosher, they celebrated the festivals, they observed the laws of family purity, and they also nourished a yearning to return to the land of Israel.
During more than 10 years, Shavei Israel has brought 5,000 Bnei Menashe to Israel, with another 6,500 still waiting in India to emigrate. While they keep kosher and observe the Sabbath, they are not recognized as Jews by the Israeli rabbinic establishment. They must officially convert to Israel after they arrive and remarry in an Orthodox Jewish ceremony. One of these Bnei Menashe couples, Devorah and Avihu Haukip, were married 5 years ago in India, but had a second group wedding ceremony in Israel.
As soon as we landed in Israel, we did a conversion and a second marriage, because while we were in India, we had not yet converted. So we moved up spiritually as well as physically.
Devorah Haukip says moving to Israel has been a dream come true.
When I heard about the news, I'm really excited and happy. I've been waiting for this to come true since my childhood, I should say.
The Haukips are among some 1,000 Bnei Menashe who moved to this town in the Galilee, Nof HaGalil, 10 months ago. They are all studying in an intensive Hebrew course to prepare them to fully enter into Israeli society. The integration of lost Jewish tribes like the Bnei Menashe is a fundamental principle of Zionism, says Shavei Israel's director.
Last week, when they emerged from the plane and walked down the steps, many of them got down on the ground, recited the Shehechianu blessing, a blessing that we say at moments of great joy to thank God, and then proceeded to kiss the tarmac, to kiss the ground, because they were so moved.
Shavei Israel hopes to bring the entire...
There are some people who think that like Black people or Africans are the real Jews, and we're just these like European fake Jews or new Jews or something. New Jews. So here's the thing, like there are African groups that claim to be Israelite tribes. We actually visited one. There was we took a trip as part of a mission to Nigeria. A lot of Igbo people believe they're a lost tribe of Israel. Mm-hmm. And so we actually made a connection because we're Rhode Island, and Rhode Island does these things where like the Igbo people of Nigeria and the Rhode Island Jewish community like connected, and they sent a couple of tribal elders here. And then we went to the Igbo land in Nigeria, me and my friend Shai Afsai, who led the trip, and my wife Naomi. It was a great time of like, and like they're doing a Jewish thing there in Nigeria. And so like, that's real, like that's legit.
Jerusalem, the city of gold, a source of inspiration for Jews, Christians, and Muslims. The Book of Psalms says, "If I forgot thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning." But could it be that biblical Jerusalem is actually more than 100 kilometers south of the city we revere today as the Holy City? One group living in the Holy Land thinks so.
They would come and pray after they presented themselves, they would come and pray. And the most interesting part about this Pacific Western Wall And this is the actual prayer. This is the actual Western Wall.
Yeah.
But understand something. This is not the temple wall. This is the Mount Zion wall that David created before Solomon created the temple. The temple was on this hill right here. This is Mount Moriah Hill.
Tel Arad is an ancient site close to the Dead Sea. It contains 5 layers of history, including findings from the biblical era. For the average person, it is indeed an impressive sight, but not a holy one. But Hoshua Amarial, who arrived here from Chicago in the late 1980s, is convinced that these are the remains of biblical Jerusalem.
David was right there, and he was first made king in Hebron. Hebron is right there. You see, so what David did, David came out of Hebron. The first act he did, he came out of Hebron, down into this area surrounded by mountains, not on the top of the mountains, where Melchizedek Jerusalem was, but an area surrounded by mountains, and he took a fort. And that fort that he took, it was standing in today. And that became known as the Citadel of David. But David did something very unique. And all the archaeologists in Israel will tell you this.
Yeah.
Where we're standing at right now is the first in history what is called a king's sanctuary.
Hoshua blames 2nd century CE Roman Emperor Hadrian for the belief that Jerusalem is in fact in the Judean hills.
It was a plan. It was an outright Christian conspiracy. The Christian, his name was Hadrian.
Right.
And this was before Christianity actually existed. But Hadrian had a plan because he felt that if the Jews or Hebrew people ever found Mount Zion, that would start a new world order. And so what happened was that he put a proclamation that stopped all Jews or the children of Israel from entering this land, this area, for 200 years. Constantine then came. But Hadrian did something. He renamed all the areas, everything in this area, he renamed it. But he called this city here Aelia Capitolonia. So I have maps that prove and that show that this here is the actual Aelia Capitolonia.
I-24 News has followed Hoshua and his community, known as Beit Israel, or the Tel Arad Israelites. They perform different rituals during Jewish holidays, such as Passover and Sukkot. We also covered their legal struggle against the Israeli Nature and Parks Authority.
Hello, I know you are all thinking I'm going crazy because most of the people or most of the Christians who read the Bible do not even understand it in the first place. Now, the Bible is a book that carries so many prophecies. Around 70% of the Bible is much of a prophetic book. The message in that might not have reflected that time, but it reflects now. Now, you know the book of Revelation? 99.99% talks about the revelation, things that were to come this time, things that are happening nowadays. Now, you might think I'm going crazy, but our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean and in the diaspora, those ones that we sold them, those ones that are as a result of slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, which saw most of our brothers and sisters taken to the Caribbean, taken to South America, North America, and Europe as workers in the farms of the white people. Now, these people are the real Israelites. You might not believe it today, but just take your time and reflect on this, because we are talking about, it's now over 400 years that they have been enslaved in the land of the Pharaohs. Now, I'm calling them the Pharaohs because these people have made our brothers and sisters slaves for the longest time. Now, these people, the Jamaicans, the Dominicans, the Haitians, all those from St. Kitts, all the Caribbean now come to the US, go to UK. all these brothers and sisters are the real Israelites. And if you do not believe this, you will one day. These people have the favor of the Lord. They have the blessings of God. You think I'm lying? Just see how much they have made it than us who are living in Africa. Now, Africa is the land of God. It's where our brothers and sisters should be. But our ancestors decided to sell them out. Now, those brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora are of the generation of Joseph. Now, Joseph was very blessed. You remember that? Now, his generation was blessed. Remember those ones that remained back after selling Joseph as a slave to Egypt. Now, those ones that remained went through hunger, went through trouble, and they had to look for Joseph. How many times have we seen bad things happening to us? Bad leadership, corrupt leadership. Our country is very blessed. Africa is one of the most blessed. In fact, it's the God of land. It is the land of God, I mean. This is where God is. This is where the people of God are. But see what's happening in our continent. These are the plagues. These are the things that God is punishing us for selling out our brothers and sisters. Now, I've seen so many Jamaicans. I've seen so many people from Nigeria, Ghana, go to Togo. All these people in the diaspora who are millionaires, celebrities, go to France, see their national team, 90% African, and you say they are not blessed. Those people are blessed. Now, it will come a time where we will look for them and beg them to forgive us. We will be on our knees because they will have made it in life more than us. It is time we realize we start treating our brothers and sisters in the diaspora as one of us. Let's welcome them back, because time is coming when we are going to kneel down before them. And before that time, myself, I want to apologize. I don't want to go now down kneeling and crying, because that time is coming. We sold our brothers for the pennies. We sold them for the little things. Now see, the greedy politicians have taken their lands that belonged to their grandfathers and grandmothers, to their ancestors. They have built skyscrapers. They have built everything. They have built international schools, apartments. But our brothers and sisters in the diaspora had to go through a lot to be where they are today. Those ones in the US, the racial segregation, those ones are in the Caribbean, having to go through a lot, having to be put in an island where services are not even a priority. They had to go through a lot to be where they are today. And that's why we see God is blessing them. They're becoming more successful than us here in Africa. Because what do people do in Africa? Just give birth. They are not doing something meaningful. But our brothers and sisters are working day and night to make sure they survive in that harsh environment. And for that reason, God has blessed them. Just go to the US. See how many millionaires and billionaires who are black people. See how many celebrities are black people. To be honest, almost 90% of the celebrities I know from the US are black people. Yes. Now, this just shows how much God has blessed the Israelites, those ones that we sold. Time is coming, my brothers and sisters. Time will catch up with us. But before that, I want to be different. I want to be so special among the group. I want to come first and apologize and make peace with my brothers and sisters, because this is the time. Thank you so much.